Hello all. I'm just going to make this short video to explain to you how you can successfully discuss structure in question 3 of language paper 1. Now, I know that last year in the 2019 summer GCSEs, an awful lot of people got less than half marks in this question. I believe the average mark was actually 3 out of 8, which says a lot about how challenging this question is. But that's not to mean or not to say that you can't be getting 6, 7 or 8 marks on this question. Maybe you're just approaching it the wrong way. Hopefully this video will explain to you just how you can approach it in the right way to get those top marks. So the most important thing to note is when you're answering this question, you're not really getting any marks for saying what is happening. Okay, we can all see that. It's pretty clear what's going on in that extract. What you do need to make comments on is where something is happening in that extract and why it is happening at that point. So the question itself will look like this. You will always need to think about the whole of the source, and it will tell you where from the story itself that extract comes from. And the question will always be, how has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? And it gives you some things that you could write about. And now we know they mean you should write about. Now this question is 8 marks and it's going to be focused on your skill of AO2 to analyse the language form and, in this case, structure used by a writer to create meanings and effects using relevant subject terminology where appropriate. Now I think the reason people go wrong on this question, or maybe don't get the marks that they deserve, is because they fall back into that idea of, oh, I must discuss the language, I must discuss that simile, that metaphor, that adjective. Now it's what we do for most questions, so it's kind of what we feel most comfortable with. But with this question, we must make sure we don't do that and we do discuss the structure. But at that point, people then think, well, how do I do that? What kind of things can I be talking about? Now here's a list of just some of the things that you could discuss when talking about structure. How the focus narrows in or zooms out, how there's a shift of time, topic, person or place. Maybe there's a sudden or gradual introduction or change. Maybe the focus flashes back or forwards. Maybe there's something that foreshadows something that might happen later on in the text. Maybe we change to the internal thoughts of a character or the external actions of a character. The point of view might shift between one character or another. We might see repetitions of something throughout that extract, or we might see a circular structure where it ends in a similar place, way, or mood to how it began. But that's not quite all we need to do. As we know when we're discussing language, you're not really going to get any marks just by mentioning that's a simile or that's a metaphor. Okay, fine, but what's the effect of that and why is it included? That's what we need to do with structure as well. Why has the writer chosen to narrow or expand that perspective? Why have they chosen to include a flashback? Why have they chosen to include repetition? That's where you're going to get your marks from. Now it may be a little bit tougher than we thought, but that's not a problem. We can definitely do this. Now the important thing to mention before we discuss the kind of comments you can make is that they need to be precise. They can't be flimsy. Anyone who I've taught over the last couple of years will know I hate things like it makes the reader want to read on. Too flimsy, too boring, you're going to get absolutely no marks out of it. We need to be precise and clear. So let's start by looking at a not so good response. Now, upon looking at that, my first reaction is that this is really basic, it's very obvious, there's absolutely no analysis and there's no subject terms either, so you're throwing your AO2 marks away straight away. All this person is doing is telling us what happens in that source, recapping the events of that extract. Completely pointless, very few marks. Okay, so this one, much better. You can see that I've highlighted things that I think are pretty good about this answer. where they start to discuss the structure and, more importantly, why it's used. Okay, so this person spoke about what's happening at the beginning and how that changes, how they focus our attention on Alex's bedroom, how it then narrows to the details of the dream using those subject terms. But also, this person discusses why. Now, that part where it says the use of the word startled, I know you might be thinking, well, that's language discussion. Well, yes and no, because they're talking about where that occurs. Obviously, that occurs in the first sentence, and that's the side of it that you're analysing. That's fine, you're still talking about structure. And then that person goes on to talk about how it generates this atmosphere of unease and why overall that interests us as a reader. A much better response. I hope this video has been helpful for you and has allayed a few of those fears you might have had about how to discuss and answer the structure question. If you do have any queries, please send an email or a message on Moodle to your subject teacher. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.